Business card or bust. You are about to learn one of the most effective advertising methods and tools that has ever graced the planet. Business cards are now more than ever the cornerstone of a successful internet based business, whatever the volume of your business. To understand why, we'll need to take a brief look at just what makes an internet business successful. What makes it grow? What makes it profitable? And what separates it from the vast competition to be found in cyberspace? Any business is going to be based on selling something. Offline, that invariably translates to two categories of product: goods and service. Scott McCloud, in his book Reinventing Comics, defines three categories of product available on the internet: atoms, bits, and eyeballs. In other words, physical products, digital content, and potential customers through advertising. The practice of selling physical products is, of course, a long standing tradition on the internet. As the fantastic success of ventures like eBay and Amazon.com prove. Of course, selling physical products online has some serious drawbacks when compared to selling physical products in the real world. For one, your potential customers are forced to take the quality, and in some cases, even the existence, of the products a website offers somewhat on faith. There are any number of cases of people bidding for an item on eBay, sending payment to the seller, and waiting weeks or even months for the product to be delivered, sometimes in vain, and never with any guarantee as to the quality and condition of the product. To combat this, the large marketplace websites frequently implement sophisticated systems of customer feedback and rating systems for both seller and buyer reliability, to the point that a whole secondary economy has sprung up on eBay that revolves around positive feedback rankings at the end of each transaction. But no amount of sophistication in site coding can really make up for the simplicity of walking into a storefront, looking at the product with your own eyes, taking it to the counter, and buying it. There are other problems with selling physical products online, of course. Although costs for the actual product are typically lower than in store costs, for example, a book that would cost $15 new in a bookstore might cost $2 used on Amazon.com. Additional costs tend to spread like wildfire, from shipping to service charges and credit card interest. Obviously, this doesn't stall online business completely. The proof, as they say, is in the pudding, so as far as the success of internet business goes. But it does give the startup online business person some serious challenges to overcome. The problem isn't any easier with selling digital content. The problems of shipping aren't a factor here, of course, but service fees and credit card interest still apply, and selling digital content carries with it its own special problems. For example, there's the question of what it means to buy a piece of digital content. When you buy a book at a bookstore, for example, you actually have the physical book in your possession and ownership is clear. Digital content often works the same way. You pay the seller, you download the content, and it's physically on your hard drive ready for use whenever you like. The iTunes model. But with some digital content models, particularly ebooks and online comics, buying content means buying a temporary pass to access the content, typically for a period of 1 week or 1 month. This is not only unsatisfying, but it makes a continuing relationship with customers much more dependent on your website code continuing to function well. And too often, even with the most tightly coded websites, it doesn't. Add to all of that the problem of software and content piracy, and the problems of digital content being sold online becomes devastatingly clear. Can these problems be overcome? Of course. The success of eBay, Amazon.com, and iTunes prove it. even if they can't fully replace the experience of shopping in the physical world. But where internet business really comes into its own is when websites try to sell Scott McCloud's third category of online products: eyeballs or potential customers. Internet advertising is, in many ways, the cornerstone of internet business. Why? Because the success of any website is directly related to how often the website is directly linked to or recommended on other websites around the internet. As we talked about last chapter, traditional business also depends on advertising, but in a much less direct way. When you see an advertisement for a traditional business, you ideally remember it and eventually patronize the business. With internet advertising, however, the rate of returns for each link is significantly higher, at best, even 100% return. This economic principle goes both ways as well. One of the principal sources of revenue for any website, whatever service, product, or content it offers, is advertising revenue. Whether it's through banner ads, pop ups, or the relatively new infinite auction model ads, some of which we'll cover at greater length in Chapter 4, including simple advertisements on your website, ensures that at a bare minimum, you can pay your bandwidth costs, and at best, you can even make some profit without even a single customer. And the more you advertise your site on other sites, the more traffic you get in return, raising the value of your site to advertisers and thus raising your revenues still more. Although there are strong advantages to the brand loyalty and loyal customers possible through physical and digital sales models, neither of them have the special virtue of online advertising: the ability to, in literal terms, reap what you sow. There are literally millions of websites out there, and in a very real sense, your ability to advertise your website is the success of your website. That's why sites like Amazon.com, eBay, and iTunes can be successful despite their flaws. Some customers may balk at the drawbacks of internet business as compared with traditional business. True. But with the increased possibility for advertising online, the customers who leave a website and never come back are offset by the number of additional customers who have no problem with the necessary conditions of internet business. That's how to make money directly on the internet, by selling products of whatever variety. But what's even more important at times, especially for a client based business, is the ability to reach contacts who can not only patronize your services, but who can provide you with services and information of their own to help your business function smoothly. In other words, the ability to make money indirectly. And if you're working through traditional channels, the number of profitable contacts you can make is limited, for one, by your advertising budget: how many cities you can advertise in, and how often you can afford to advertise; and for another, by the number of people you can reasonably contact in the course of starting and running your business. What this means is that the people who can help you the most in your business operations are not necessarily the people who you can contact or with whom you can collaborate in an efficient and cost effective manner. If you're a website designer, the best graphic artist available might live and work in New York City while you're in Los Angeles, and that's a fairly costly commute for regular business operations. But with the internet, these concerns don't apply. You could find an excellent contact who can provide you with the services you want as easily as running a Google search, and you can collaborate with him or her as easily as writing an occasional email and sending data back and forth. In most cases, that means a higher level of quality you can bring to your products and much lower costs to boot. These are just a few of the ways to make money on the internet, whether directly or indirectly. But for every advantage we've discussed here, there is a complementary disadvantage. So, the question any business owner who wants to incorporate the internet into their business model has to face is this: How do we bridge the gap? How do we turn the disadvantage of the internet around without losing any of its considerable advantages? If you've ever tried to run a client based business, you've probably already noticed that the condition for success under a client model are nearly the same as the conditions for success with internet business. A website can't succeed without referring links from other popular websites. A lawyer can't succeed without referrals from satisfied clients or other business contacts. Referrals in both business models are the single determining factor to success. For an offline, client based business, business cards are the simplest possible way to increase your chances of getting referrals. For online business, this holds less true, simply because a business card isn't a hyperlink. Your prospective client still has to physically type in your website address. But a good business card is still the simplest possible way to increase your website traffic by working in the real world. And increasing your website traffic in this sense doesn't just mean increasing it for prospective customers. The properties of a website that make it useful for selling products to customers, again, the ability to sell eyeballs, atoms, and bits, aren't the be all end all of internet business. A website, in its simplest terms, is just a collection of various files, page files, certainly, but also images, music, and print ready documents. In other words, a website allows you to show business contacts exactly what your business is about, with much more complexity than even the largest print advertisement. If you're a writer, you might archive some of your best sample work. If you're a lawyer, you might include detailed information about a few of your best cases, including testimonials from satisfied clients. There are any number of possibilities, limited only by your bandwidth and your imagination. It's this aspect of internet business that uses the targeting abilities of business cards to their fullest advantage. In traditional business, a business card gives you a potential contact in a strategically useful place. Nothing more, although that's quite a lot. But with internet business, your business card not only gives you that contact, but allows him or her, at his or her convenience, to research thoroughly exactly what you can provide, what you've done in the past, and on a fundamental level, just what your business is about. And if your business is in order, as in any successful business will be, that's a sure gateway to gaining new clients. Business cards also eliminate one of the major drawbacks of the internet, the fact that as vast as your potential audience is, it's limited to those people who are on the internet enough and savvy enough with search engines and portal sites to find your website and your services. One of the keys to internet success is advertising, yes, but that advertising is too often confined to the internet itself, which is, for all its size, a limited pool. If you hand out business cards with your website address on them, however, you can attract people who might have spent an hour on the internet ever, but who'll certainly spend more time on the internet now at your site. It's a way of increasing the size of your potential audience and thus of increasing your business, all at a reasonable cost. So we can see that business cards and internet business, despite the drawbacks of each, can combine effectively to push your business to the next level. On its own, a business card communicates the fact that your business exists and gives prospective clients a convenient way to contact you when they need you, or simply if they're curious. And on its own, the internet is a surprisingly small community. But when augmented with business cards, you can make any pond large enough to swim in, however big a fish you intend to become. Convinced about the value of business cards yet? If so, then let's move on to the next chapter, where we'll talk about exactly what to do and what not to do when designing a memorable, effective business card.